Hello and welcome to another episode review for Nijigasaki, this being episode 12. I'm Callan.
And I'm Honey Panda Bunny. Overall, this was an interesting conclusion, and hooray, Ayumu's character hasn't been ruined for me. It was really in the balance though. I don't completely agree with how things were handled here, but I'm happy enough that this issue was resolved, and excited enough for the next one.
So this episode does conclude the Yu and Ayumu storyline that had been building over the past 3 episodes. I'm happy for the resolution of this episode, and I think this episode actually offered a lot of surprising depth for Ayumu that I think wasn't showcased enough in the past 2 episodes. And there's a lot of bringing stuff full circle in this episode, with a lot of good callbacks to the previous episodes, in particular the first episode. And while I would say that this episode has not improved my opinions of what happened in the previous 2 episodes, I do think that it offered a good resolution, which I am thankful for. And the song at the end was a nice surprise that I was not expecting.
We see the kind of anticlimactic, awkward situation of Ayumu having to leave, and then the mourning portion where don't discuss it, and it's already set up the idea of an awkward air about them.
Everyone's being awkwardly silent and essentially not addressing what was happening.
Yeah, and it was good to be able to see all the girls working on the festival. I actually initially thought that it would be only about 5 stages and all the girls would pick. But no, everyone's getting their own stage, so it's really nice that they all get to really work on their own individuality with this.
So we see all the other girls get called by members of the school. We see Rina's group, we see Shizuku's club president, all offering input for their personal stages. And we also see that Ayumu has her own fans, which we actually did see in the previous episode in the baking scene. There's the pink-haired girl, the brown-haired one who's the leader, and they are her own fans essentially, and her friends which talk to her. And we see them have a conversation, and they're talking about her stage. And she says that she's fine with whatever, but they generally want, brown-haired one gets up and she's very passionate that she wants it to be really good for Ayumu. And for Ayumu, this is one of the first times she's seen someone support her just as much as Yu has.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the episode we've also seen Yu and Ayumu be preoccupied by these thoughts while going through it. And then obviously everyone got to disband into their own little groups and have their own nice little friendships outside of the idol club, which was nice. And the gag with Kasumi was really, really funny where she was left out, so it was really good to be able to see that. We start to see Ayumu obviously take her own path here, almost like the budding of a flower, as her imagery is always mixed with that.
Well, I think this episode does a good job of making it to the forefront that she is very lacking in self-confidence. She mentions that after she's talked to the girls that she doesn't see her own strengths. And something I really appreciate about this episode is that we get to see more from Ayumu's perspective. Whereas in the previous episodes, it was more her reacting to situations, which made it a little hard to be sympathetic towards. But here we're actually seeing her thoughts and her feelings. And we see that throughout this episode, this isn't actually just about her attachment to Yu. This isn't just about her being obsessive. It's just as much about herself, actually, because she feels that it's also her that as she's getting new friends, as she's becoming a school idol, that she's potentially growing away from Yu. So actually, this episode reveals that there was actually a lot more depth to Ayumu's thoughts that we're only now seeing.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see that, and it's also nice to see that her circle is growing and she's almost unnerved by that. The idea of that her dream with Yu is evolving, pardon the pun to the song, but she also feels bad herself that she's breaking this promise that she almost made to Yu, if that makes sense at the beginning.
In the previous episode, you mentioned she wants to become a school idol, she's got friends, she seemingly doesn't care about compared to her feelings for Yu. But it turns out in this episode that actually no, she really does treasure him. So it's something that I think in hindsight has actually improved that previous episode's plot point. And then, so afterwards we get the scene with Yu and Setsuna talking, and Yu sees Ayumu, and obviously she wants to address the situation that happened in the previous episode, and she runs up to her and she tries to confess her dreams to her, but Ayumu doesn't want to hear it. And I think this time, when she doesn't want to hear it, I actually understand why she doesn't want to hear it, because for her, if she admits her dream, then it means that they generally are splitting apart, that they are becoming, they're not the glue that they always thought they were, that they're not always going to be together. Again, it just emphasizes that this isn't just about her attachment to Yu. In a way, it's Ayumu feeling guilty about her newfound happiness, her taking joy in becoming a school idol and having these new friendships that she's formed. It's such a much more interesting character story than, oh, she's just obsessive.
At least not everyone in the group's been oblivious, and it was nice to see Setsuna pick up on some of Yu and Ayumu's situation. And I'm glad that she's actually genuinely trying to help. It almost calls back to her episode where you helped her, and that promise in the previous episodes where she said, oh, I'll support you, and it's nice to actually see her supporting both Ayumu and you here. So with Ayumu voicing her discomfort, I still can't help but feel that she's acting a little bit selfishly. And I know that she's scared for her and you drifting apart now that she has new goals, and so does you. And it makes sense that she has this outburst towards you because she's just overwhelmed and she can't help it. So I do feel sympathy, but I still can't help but feel she's a little bit selfish here. I am glad that Yu was very serious about this though, and I'm glad that she came up front and wanted to talk about this in a really mature way. She didn't try and hide it anymore, she wanted to confront this situation and actually talk about it. And Yu only gets to hear Ayumu once again, but Ayumu's distrusting of herself, not just you here. She's coming to terms with the fact of, oh, my world is bigger outside of you, and I think that's hard for her to come to terms with here, and it's putting a lot of pressure on her.
So afterwards we see the clubs are telling each other their plans, but they're keeping their stages a secret from each other because that would be more fun. And obviously with Ayumu having her unsure feelings about you, she hasn't actually made plans fully with her group. So Ayumu and Setsuna have their little talk, and this is where Ayumu opens up to Setsuna, and she talks about how originally she became a school idol for you, but now her world has expanded, she has friends, people she loves, and want to support her as well, and that these feelings are precious, and obviously she's worried that she's become distant from you. This is so much more interesting. I just wish that this had been hinted at more over the course of the series. Rather than the previous 2 episodes, it just appears that she's obsessive. But here we learn that there's just so much more to her character than what we initially thought. So Setsuna describes her development from the 3rd episode, that she was hiding, but now she's very upfront about what she loves and what she wants to do. And she essentially puts her fist out and tells her to see it through to the end. And if I was to be a little critical of this episode, I was a little bit disappointed with Setsuna's role, because I feel she just told her something that any of the other group could have told her. This wasn't them getting closer, this wasn't an emotional scene of them bonding, of them forming a closer friendship. It was just Setsuna reassuring her, and that's it. It just made me feel that in the last episode, I felt that Setsuna was just a prop between you and Ayumu, and this hasn't really changed my feelings, unfortunately. I just feel that apart from some earlier connections with Setsuna with the 2 in the first few episodes, it just felt Setsuna's role wasn't as integral as I wanted it to be. Although I did think that the fist bump at the end was pretty cool.
We get to hear this, obviously. To me, I thought it was a nice heart-to-heart for Setsuna towards Ayumu. And it was nice to actually get Setsuna helping for a change here. And Setsuna was, assuring her it's okay to love what you love and to grow and have new dreams. But I did laugh a little bit. I felt like Setsuna was acting very pro-tag here, which perfectly fits her.
I think the content was good. I would have liked it to be a bit longer. Maybe had a bit more of a heart-to-heart.
I do feel like Ayumu actually needed a different perspective here, so that's why I was glad that it was like Setsuna to give it. It was something that you couldn't offer her because obviously there's this awkward air around them, so they can't air it that way. And it got through, and I'm really glad about that. And they've gone through this, and now they can come out on the other side. And I think Ayumu's finally realised that it's okay to build new dreams now. And it was great to see that from someone like Setsuna, who is so about making people's dreams come true. That is her whole goal, of expanding people's dreams. So it was really nice that it was actually her, in my opinion, to bring it to Ayumu.
So inspired by Setsuna's words, she goes to Yu. She finally sees the stage that Yu had been working on in secret with the girls in Ayumu's fan club. And we see it's like a parade of flowers and bows, and that the girls work really hard for Ayumu, and you see that she's so grateful for what they've done for her. Yu gives her a flower that represents feelings never changing or friendships never ending. And then we get a hug from the 2, and then the other girls join in and we get a massive hug party.
Yeah, it was really cute, and it was glad to see that Yu was finally reaffirming that, oh, I care and I love you and, I'm here. And it was the same vice versa for Ayumu, and they kind of get to discuss the dreams for the future almost, and vice versa. And it was really nice to be able to see them reconcile. And I will say though, I wasn't a massive fan of how much work that Yu had to go through to try and get their relationship back in order. But I'm glad that it was at least resolved here. And it was really nice to be able to see all of Ayumu's fans being really earnest and cute towards her.
So we see them walking back together, and I do really like that this is the first time they've been able to walk back together and there's no lingering tension. This is them having reconciled, and Ayumu apologises for being selfish in the past 2 episodes, which I was very grateful for. and Yu teases her a little bit. She says, oh, you're cute when you're selfish. So we get a bit more of that teasing relationship that they had. It's very sweet. Get hand holding as they walk towards a very familiar location from the first episode.
Yeah, it was really cute, and I am glad that Ayumu apologised, because it was something that I really wanted to see, so I'm glad that she didn't absolve herself of it. I remember when we were watching it, I was jokingly saying, oh look, the thumbnail that I used for the first episode, all we need to do now for it to come full circle is Ayumu to run up the stairs and sing, which she proceeded to do, which I was so struck by.
So before we go into that, there's something that I really, really like, which is you mentioned that just because she's going to be so busy managing the school idol festival that she won't actually be able to see Ayumu perform live. And something I really, really like is that Ayumu doesn't even react to this. She doesn't react negatively. She doesn't react positively. It doesn't need to be an issue now. And so it's good development. So as you said, Ayumu runs up the stage. This time with the flower that you gave her, she powers up. And we go straight into a song that I was not expecting, Awakening Promise.
I think it's a really good song. I do think that it's going to have to grow on me a bit though, because I still prefer Dream With You, but I think that's just because I've listened to Dream With You more. Visually, the stage mirrors quite similarly to what we saw in the first episode.
This was a really nice surprise, and I think that this was like an intended upgrade to Dream With You, because you know the visuals in Dream With You, it's very realistic, it's almost like a parade, but this one felt much more grander and it felt magical based in a way. It felt very of another world, and I would agree that for me, I think the song wise, I thought it was okay. I agree, I prefer Dream With You. Ayumu puts on a nice performance, but it feels a little bit more of the same from some of her earlier songs. But I do really, really like the cutaway visuals. Her walking on the planet's really cool. We get to see the shot of her tears, so we see a little bits of her growth and even in the song as well, it talks about planting seeds and about turning into growing yeah. Essentially, which is a big aspect of her character, is flowers, the imagery of flowers.
I really like the comic book and manga style to some of it as well, and also this idea of her travelling around Odaiba and being able to enjoy things on her own, not just with someone. I also really like that we get to see the Ayubun and the URs a bit more carefully. I feel like we had a lot more time to look at them, even having one of her URs animated and making a love heart. It was really nice to be able to see them and be able to appreciate them a bit more.
There's a nice collection of styles, as you mentioned, the comic book style mixed with the CGI and the regular 2D. And easily my favourite shot is where she's falling from the sky, but then she gets the pink wings that emerge and she starts flying. It's very Magical Girl-esque, I thought. It was again a very nice metaphor for her character growth, of her seemingly free falling but finding something that can help bring her back up.
Almost kind of falling into her dreams via the end of it.
And this song is directed to Yu, essentially, because Yu is not going to be able to see her performance. This is her performing for her now. So the song ends, and I really, really love the callback to focusing on Yu as it's going up. And in the first episode, when she heard Dream With You, she reacted shocked. But here, she's just smiling. It's really nice, simple happiness for a friend. And then at the end, they commit to supporting each other further.
It was nice to see this resolved, and Ayumu seemed genuinely regretful not hearing Yu's dream out, and now she seems to actively be making up for it by, obviously at the end, watching Yu play and affirming that, oh, it's really good, don't worry, it's really good, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, so after
supporting their dreams.
Yeah, so after the ED, we get Yu playing the piano for Ayumu for the first time and showing her the song that she started composing. She's only just started it, we hear a little bit of it. Is this potentially the group song in the last episode, maybe? Who knows? And finally, she does tell Ayumu her dream, which is that she wants to make music. Ayumu thinks the song is lovely as the episode ends.
Yeah, I'm really glad that this, like you said, got resolved, and they seem even stronger now. I'm even more excited for the development between the two, and then obviously at the end of the episode we get to see the next time. So I can't wait for the next episode. I'm hoping that all the girls will have another solo, but I am having my doubts due to seeing when they all put their hands in together, their sleeves are the ones from their previous solos that we've all seen. But I think it's really cool, and I'm still excited for what's going to happen, and the Sif shirts are adorable. I really want one. I look forward to their performance, and I know I'm going to be cheering them all on.
I'm happy for the last episode, but I'm also a little bit sad that it's ending, because I really enjoyed the anime. This was our first talking about the anime as it was coming out, so this series is very special to me now, and to see it end is it's going to be bittersweet. It's going to be sad, yeah. But I'm also really happy as well. We've been building to this, and I'm just super excited to see all the performances. I can't wait to see what surprises we might have in store. I'm really interested to know what Yu's going to do. It's going to be a good last episode, I think. And this episode was really strong as well, so I think that it's ended on a good note.
Yeah, I will say I am surprised that the School Idol Festival is actually the end thing, because obviously usually the big event doesn't usually happen in the first season, it happens in the second. But I can't wait to see the big parade actually happen here, obviously.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.